Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am here to bring you the Take 5 Art Challenge for the month of April. This month was Sylvia's prompts. I am a little bit late. I mean, it is still April, but I didn't release it on release date, so better late than never, I suppose. I am putting up the prompts up on the screen now for you to have a look at the prompts that Sylvia chose. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to fill you in on where I've been and what I've been doing for the past little bit. So here in Australia, back in November, it was ramping up to the start of the Aged Care Royal Commission. And I remember feeling really invested in that whole topic. I read a lot of articles about abuse and neglect in aged care facilities and just how the standards were not to par. And I remember thinking, I had a talk with my dad one day, and I remember thinking that I feared it, that I feared what would happen when my parents got a little bit older and what I would do if I had to take care of my parents. And my dad told me, and what I know from our family is that we don't put our elders in aged care facilities. I always grew up with my grandmother. My grandmother lived at home with us until she passed away. And yes, there were times when she had to go to hospital for procedures and stay overnight and stuff like that. But the everyday care was provided at home by my parents as well as aged care, as well as nurses who came to deliver the care that she needed in the house. And I remember thinking to my dad, I really, I really want to be a part of it. I really want to have confidence and not fear it as much as I did. And he said to me, well, why don't you go do a course? And I remember thinking, yeah, why don't I do a course? Usually when I fear something or I don't know about it, I usually read up on it and I research it until I become familiar with it. And then I don't fear it as much. So I remember calling around, sending a few emails to a few courses here that offered this aged care course. And the first lady I talked to, she had said that the intake had already come through, like it had already been, and so I'd missed the intake for the year, and I'd have to wait until February. Similarly, the TAFE colleges here said that they were starting again in February, March, so I'd have to wait a couple months. And I contacted this one college, and I was talking to a really wonderful guy who said that there was an intake starting in 2 weeks and that he was sure I could do it, that my medical background, I have a degree in biomedical sciences, and he said that my medical background would add really nicely and that I would get a job pretty quickly because the industry was, couldn't fill a job fast enough and on and on. We talked. He called me back the next day and asked how I felt about it. And he was, a recruitment officer, obviously, but I just felt like I was talking to someone who understood me and understood the reasons why I was um, I was interested in the course. And so yeah, I sort of had a chat to my parents. I had a chat to my husband, and thought, you know what, I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this course. I was at a stage of my life, everything was great, like I was participating in all our swaps as usual. I was on a design team, I was on Take 5 art group, and I felt like everything was really good, but I really also felt like there was something out there. Like the only thing I can say, and I know it's going to sound cheesy, but it just felt like something was calling me. And once I had a chance to think about it, I was so excited to start this next sort of adventure, which is how I how I guess I presented it to myself. And so yes, I applied and I was accepted, and we started pretty much the last week of November, or the first week of December, I don't remember. So we went in, the usual introductions, and then there's the usual, you have to sit tests to see um, if you're up to par, and I didn't have a problem with that. And so we started with law and ethics just before Christmas, and then we were coming back in the new year to really do all the hard, the hard stuff, the dementia. Now, unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize that I had actually enrolled in a dual certificate. And so it was a dementia aged care plus a disability. And I remember thinking, whoa, is this what I had clicked on? But then after a little while, I thought, you know what? A lot of our elders somehow do end up living with a disability, whether it's breathing problems, hip replacement problems, in dementia as well. So I didn't let it scare me. Our units for disability were actually focused on, real disability like ADHD and autism and cerebral palsy and all those kind of things that, to be honest, they scared me because it wasn't something that I had ever experienced. I know a lot of friends who do have persons with disability in their family, and they're familiar with it, and it's not so scary. But for myself, I felt like I didn't have the experience, and that I wouldn't be able to do a good job. But I was really grateful for the education that I got, because now I feel that I do have the techniques and I do have the skills and I do have the knowledge to provide care for a person living with disability. And the most amazing thing was, after I graduated my certificate, one of the students, we had a new student in my weekend school, and he turned out to have Down syndrome, and I almost wanted to cry in thanks to God, because I, before I had taken the certificate, I wouldn't have delivered as good a service, I think, knowing how to deal with patterns and behaviors. And now I hear my trainer's voice in my mind, and I know exactly what I need to do, and I know when I need to be patient, and I know when to redirect, and I know what I need to say to parents to um, give them the confidence. And anyway, I'm totally veering off the track. So I finished my course, and it was time to go to placement. And my placement had to be in a dementia facility. So I looked at the places around me, and I chose 5, like we were asked. And then my trainer came up to me and said, Amira, there's a facility in the city. It's a new type of facility. It's like a Montessori Eden approach style, which is all focused on person centered. And it's not the usual medical model of care. It's the care depending on what the client or the resident needs. And I said, you know what, that is what I want to be a part of. She said, but it's far away. And I said, go ahead, just put my name down. I can figure it out. And on the day that everybody was getting their placements, everybody got one but me. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, what, have I asked for something too hard? And now I don't get anything, and I'm going to have to wait until the 3 weeks of placement has passed, and then I would have to get somebody else's placement once that student left. But I was patient, and I just kind of, held my ground and told myself that we'd see what tomorrow would bring. And then the next day, I got my placement folder, and I saw that I got the place where I wanted, which was the Richardson. And so I was so pleased. So everybody got their placement on Wednesday. I got mine Thursday afternoon. Friday was the last day. And then I had the weekend, and then we were starting on Monday. And so Monday morning, I got up. I was up at 3 a.m. and I was nervous, excited, and uh, just I didn't know what was in store for me. And usually, when things are unpredictable or not in my control, I tend to panic just a little bit. And so 5:30, I left the house, caught the bus at the end of my street, caught the train into the city. I was in the city by 6:30, and I walked to this place, and everybody there was just so kind and welcoming, and they buddied me up with a person on one of the floors. And so began like 3 weeks of an amazing adventure that I had. So very different, obviously, from theory work in class. It's really all about listening to people's needs and helping people do the regular things that you would do at home. Now, obviously, because it was a dementia facility, I saw things that if I hadn't been prepared for, I wouldn't have been able to address effectively. I also saw things that just really um, made me marvel at how life is. You know, you could be at the height of your uh, performance, and then with this onset of a disease, you can't even remember what you're going to do next. So it was interesting, and I remember being so heightened and really just aware and just listening and observing. And at the end of every day, I was just exhausted and tired. And I'd come home, and I barely make it home on the train, and it was about 4:30 because I finished at 3, and my husband would have to take the kids to Taekwondo. He would have to make dinner. I'd wake up at around 8 just to have something to eat and then go back to sleep and then wake up again 3 a.m. the next day thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to do it all again today. Um, that first week was also the week of the New Zealand terrorist attack, which just really um, made it pulled me off center and made everything just twice as hard because I was crying around every corner, and then I'd dry my tears and then say, yes, how can I help you? So I don't know how I got through those 3 weeks. It was a challenge, but really worthwhile. Everything you do that's worthwhile will always be a challenge, I believe. And so halfway through, I was the general manager. The general manager told me that he was taking resumes because they were opening another floor and that they were going to be getting more staff. So I put my resume in, and then the week after, he said that he was doing interviews on the Tuesday. Would I like to just pop in for an interview? And I said, yeah, sure, no problem, slot me in. And had the interview. It was like any normal interview I ever had. Tell us a little bit about you. It's not like they already knew who I was, but it was just very professional, very official. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What makes a good team? What would you do if you saw something that wasn't wrong? How do you control for quality? How do you control for cross contamination? All these just normal questions. So we did the interview, and he said, okay, well, thank you. And I've got more people to interview, so why don't you go back on your floor? And yeah, so I finished that. And then my last day came along, so I had bought chocolates and a card, and I remember going in and saying, thank you for having me. I've had an amazing time here, and you guys are doing such a great job. And he said, well, today's your last day as a student, but I'm so happy to say that we're having you back next week as an employee. And so I was like, what? I got accepted? He's like, yeah, absolutely. So you start on, not April the 1st, because that would be a cruel joke, but April the 2nd. And I said, wow, yes, wonderful. Thank you. So I've started working now. And so it's been 2 or 3 weeks now, 2 weeks. And I just can't, I'm just so thankful for the whole change in my direction. And so obviously, I had put aside all my art for the time being because all I was doing was, thinking about my career and where I was going and how I was going to do it well, and how I was going to make dinner out every day and how I was going to take the kids. But slowly, you grow your stamina. So obviously, today my spread is catching up on some of the challenges that I've missed. I wanted to journal about my new role as a carer, and I called this piece Because I Care. Because the one question that I kept getting was, why? Why are you doing this? You've got a degree in medical sciences, and you can go and work in a lab and a research facility. Why are you coming here where the pay is low and the standards are not so high? And I said, because I want to be part of something new. I want to be part of something that's really important. I want to be part of the new change. This new Royal Commission is going to bring about a whole lot of changes. There's new standards coming out, and I want to be a part of something new. I want to have something so that when my parents grow older, they can have something that I approve of. Not that I'm ever going to put them in a facility, but if for some reason they had to go for some time for respite, they would be all right there, and I wouldn't fear for their health and safety. Similarly, when I'm older, I want to know that there are places you can go where the quality of your life matters, whether your life matters, your health matters, the quality of the service you get matters. That's what I want to be a part of because I care. And so, yes, that's my story, everybody. So sorry for waffling on a bit, but I've been meaning to get on and just touch base with all my friends and followers. Thank you to everybody who has been so supportive during this whole time. I've had a whole heap of friends just message, email, phone, call, ask how I've been, and I'm well and hope to be getting to art whenever I can. Not sure that I can get it as often as I used to, but I definitely do need to keep some art in my life. So thank you so much for joining me, everybody, and I'll see you in my next video.